Well, the suspect in former President Trump's second assassination attempt was just in federal court. Ryan Routh just pled not guilty to a new charge of attempted assassination of a presidential candidate. His court appearance comes as Attorney General Merrick Garland defends releasing Routh's letter, where he offered a $150,000 bounty on the former president. David Spunt is live in Washington with the latest. David.
Hi, Emily. Good afternoon. This was a quick court appearance for Ryan Routh. As you mentioned, he pleaded not guilty. His defense team asked that the indictment not be reread. That was his right, that he does not have to hear that indictment read. So this is going toward a jury trial. He could face up to the rest of his life behind bars for this serious charge of attempted assassination of a presidential candidate. Now, you mentioned that letter from Attorney General Merrick Garland that's on the docket, the letter from Ryan Routh, I should say, the suspect in this case. It was put on the docket a couple of weeks ago. It's in Routh's hand, and Attorney General Merrick Garland says it's simple. I asked him about this on Friday. He says the DOJ filed the Routh letter image for the public to see on the docket to try and keep him behind bars to show his intentions. Ultimately, it worked. A judge ordered him detained, and he is detained pending trial. Now, Routh's probable cause hearing ended in just minutes. It's not clear when the next hearing will be. The magistrate judge did not set a next date. This will actually go to Judge Eileen Cannon, who overheard the Trump documents case and ultimately dismissed that case. Now, this letter, authorities say, is in Routh's hand. It states that he was attempting to assassinate the former president and includes an apology for failing to kill Trump while offering a $150,000 bounty for anyone who can finish the job. House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan in Washington says releasing the letter could actually harm the former president by encouraging others to think they could potentially get paid by Routh. Jordan says the department's decision to broadcast the attempted assassin's bounty on President Trump at the same time that the department is aggressively and unconstitutionally prosecuting President Trump raises significant concern that the department could cause additional harm to occur. Now, Routh's finances are unknown, but again, he does have a public defender. I asked the Attorney General on Friday about criticism for putting the letter on that public docket, and here's his response. Watch.
Our first job with respect to Routh was ensuring that he be detained. And when you file a detention motion, the prosecutors have to make the most reasonable judgment they can about what evidence is necessary to ensure detention.
Now, Ryan Routh could spend the rest of his life behind bars if he's convicted on those charges brought forward by the Justice Department. Emily.
David Spunt, thank you. All right, so Congressman, talk to me about that balancing test, and what do you make of that? So on one hand, we have the Attorney General saying, well, we needed all evidence to keep him detained. This is all about protecting Donald Trump, mitigating the risk against him. And then you have Jim Jordan and the like from the House Judiciary Committee saying, oh, no. You guys have a strong history of not releasing manifestos. This is just going to inspire copycats. Why now?
Yeah, I think Jim Jordan, the chairman of the Judiciary, has a good point, as does Attorney General Barr, who said this was pretty sensational. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but it really begs the question. Was it furthering the case? Did he really need that little piece of evidence? Or was he inciting others at a time when the threat to Donald Trump and his family could it be any higher? I mean, it's just off the charts. So it seems sensational. It seemed ill-timed. It didn't seem necessary. And I think it was wrong for them to release that part of that manifesto, if you want to call it.
Yeah, and Kayleigh, let's talk about the term necessary that the congressman just used, because there are ways to submit things into evidence without releasing it to the public, right? So there are many avenues afforded the Attorney General that could have, if needed again for an evidentiary purpose, to protect Donald Trump, to bolster the claim, to leave this guy in detention. He could have done it without releasing it to the public.
Without a doubt. I mean, Bill Barr said there was more than enough evidence to keep Ryan Routh detained. To your point, Barr pointed out you can redact information that is inflammatory, and Bill Barr said pretty succinctly it served no purpose other than to risk inciting further violence. You know, we've got to know more about these tips that came into the government. There were 4 tips about this individual, and the DOJ and the FBI have discovered a book, a self-published book by Ryan Routh, where he literally calls for the assassination of Donald Trump. Now, I understand it's easy to be Monday morning quarterback, but we need to know more, and this isn't DOJ, this is more FBI, about the tips that came in and how in the future future, maybe we can take those tips a little more seriously.
And, Rebecca, it sort of reminds me, there have been a lot of celebrities through the years who have publicly called for, frankly, the assassination of President Trump. And they defend it by saying, I didn't mean it, it was comedy, etc. And what we heard, the line from the Secret Service leadership was always, well, is the threat actionable? Essentially, do we take it seriously? And part of that, reassuring the public, was supposed to, on the flip side, let us know that if there was actionable threats, indeed they had identified it. So now we have sort of a suspect FBI and DOJ, a very suspect Secret Service leadership, telling us to trust them. The answer is we don't.
No, we don't trust them, and I still can't get over the fact that we keep talking about the second assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump. I mean, the second one, we know that there are threats to his life out there. We know that there's a lot of people who want him harmed, and we know that the Iranian government wants him harmed and is operating inside the United States. These are continued and pressing threats, and so why this bounty letter needed to be shown, I don't understand. You could even just make the remark that there is a bounty letter without making it so sensationalized. And I agree, pointing out that, my colleague at Hudson Institute, former Attorney General Barr, said that it was, that he was gobsmacked, essentially, by it. Doesn't make any sense at all. And so I think he's a really good judge of this.
Yeah, good barometer.
I guess my question would be to you, if it's okay, Emily, what is normal? I know you gave us instances of what the options are, but how outside the norm is releasing a letter like this?
There's nothing normal about this Attorney General as it's been operating under this administration. I think that's the answer. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of Kathy Griffin right now with the severed head photo and all of the threats that we've sort of, as a society, decided didn't matter so much because they were against Donald Trump. And there has been a drumbeat up to that point. That one perhaps the most visual. And, it came under humor with her. I don't get it. I don't think anybody did. But I'm just wondering, what is the norm when you hear that someone is on someone's target list time and time again? I think it is to extra protection for that person, but also extra protection even in the court. Like if there's a letter that doesn't have to be released that might incite someone else, why in the world would you ever pollute the conversation around that person with that material when you've had visual threats against that person?
Yeah, and now pleading not guilty. Well, that's wasting our tax dollars even more. Hey everyone, I'm Emily Compagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.